Okay, so Vac. Sorry, I don't remember your name right off the top of my bat or off the top of my head. It might have been. I've had a number of different people interact with me so far, so please don't be offended by that. I see my bandwidths are not so good, so unfortunately, let me check something real quick. Everything's fine. It's just being a little wonky for whatever reason, and I just had that flip up there. Okay, well, we're gonna have to deal with it. So I had some questions asked about stealing. Someone just got the game, Silverback, just got the game, and so I'm doing two different projects, and you have to keep things separate. But you have the three types of game here. That when you get a Strat-o-matic game, you have basic, advanced, and super advanced. Obviously, if you're starting out, I would really recommend the basic. It's the easiest. It's the easiest to maintain. But if you watch my videos, it may confuse you because I got a message. Yes, Silverback. Yes, you. So it may be confusing because I'm using advanced, and there are some other mechanisms that go into that. So in basic, a lot of the things that you do kind of tie themselves together in one card. And that's what they try to do. So, like, for instance, the fielding chart. You only have the one rating for each player. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It combines both the range and the air potential for the player. So you can see them both kind of mashed together in there. You have some that are singles, some that are errors in the same chart, whereas if you look at the advanced chart, it splits it out. Same thing with stealing. You have two mechanisms dealing with in stealing. One is speed and one is jump, I would say. So in basic, or speed. Well, let's say it this way: speed, maybe three: speed, jump, and the catcher's arm. So in basic, you really get two mechanisms. You get the speed of the runner, or his proficiency at stealing. So let's say basic. Let's just start out here. Basic. Stealing. Kind of two factors. One is this proficiency of the base runner. And the second is, let's just combine it to say defense. Yeah, defense has an S in this country. So what I mean is, so in basic stealing, you have, you'll always take, so if nobody's held on, let's just say you have Ryan Braun. I just picked his card out here. It was kind of like, nobody held on. It is just equals the steal rating. So Ryan Braun, he's an A. He would be a 1 to 15. So you would just roll. So let's say he's on first base. You want to roll it out. You want to see, you roll him. It's a 19. He's gone. Thrown out. Dead meat. Let's roll him again here. This time we get a 6. He's safe. So that's how that works with, if your opponent, if you're the manager of the guy on base, if you say, or if he says, I'm not holding him on, then you really want to, then the catcher's arm plays no part in it. There's nothing to do with it. It's just straight up, boom, that. So if you hold somebody on, or held on, let's say, it's going to equal the steal rating. And I'm going to put minus because all of these have negative. I mean, maybe I should say plus because they all have minus factors. Plus, I'll say defense for the lack of better term, because I think to me, it kind of combines both into one, because this will help when you translate it over to advanced. So let's say you want to hold Braun on. And let's see. From the last game here, we had... Where is he? I don't know, we'll just take Michael McHenry because he's not such a good catcher. So he's a 4. So what you do, the defense, what that really is these numbers here. So it's you deduct. So it's a little confusing right here because you have catcher -1. So what this is the catcher. You take the catcher -4. So it's just like it's listed here on the basic side of the card. Catcher -4. So it's going to be a -1, and it's the same with catcher 5. So catcher 4 is 1. So you're going to only subtract 1 from Braun's rating. So you take 15, you take his 1 to 15 off of this stealing chart. You subtract 1 for McHenry because he's being held on, and it also takes into account, the ability of the pitcher to hold him on. It takes that all into one thing. So it'd be 1 to 14, and let's say you still send him 8, he makes it. So that's good. So that's how that works. There's also double steals, I guess. I rarely use those, but if you do that, you're going to have to go with the lead runner. So a simple double steal is like first and second. You might want to do that because, and I've done that one. I guess I was thinking more of like stealing home. So let's say stealing home. I don't think you ever have to worry about being held on with that. You just go with the straight up number. So let's say you got Braun, you want to have him take home. It's 1 to 6 straight up, and you roll it, and it's a 4. He makes it. There you go. That would have been a real fait accompli, I guess is what you'd say. So okay, I think that's pretty close to it. Let me read through the rules here. We got the rules section. I got some comments here. All right, now what teams or seasons? Let's see. I got to read through the comments here. I should have been interacting. Did I hear right that you started playing Silverback? Yes, sir. Just started. Probably 2015. Okay, so no questions so far, it looks like. Now, the other thing is so when you're holding on runners, I'll say this because, it is a tool that you want to use. I just played the World Series that wasn't just a minute ago over there, and that's why I'm a little bit hyper right now, is because it was a good game. I would recommend going to watch it. It's a real good tactic if you have. Okay, so here's the thing. I'll get it to you this way. In advanced, it is a better tactic to help with who your catcher is. You might be able to gloss over your catcher by having it held on. Because it's a little different. So, and I know I'm kind of like rambling on here a bit, but I'm trying to get the basic, because you're probably going to do that most. I think that really covers it. So, like I said, holding on, you're gonna have these plus jobbers here. That's going to be a single. So that's the one downside. If you're a defensive manager and you decide you're going to hold on Ryan Braun, or the guy who's on base and Ryan Braun's at bat, if you roll a 3-3, that shortstop A goes to the single 2-star, and you've got first and third. So that's your dilemma with that. Now I guess I can keep this here because you do use some of the same ratings with advanced. So advanced stealing. I'm not going to go through super advanced because, frankly, I have not played it yet. And so I would be explaining it out of a position of weakness myself. I think it's awesome. And I'm writing stupid because I'm talking and writing at the same time. And I'm talking and writing two different things. I was going to say, I think it's actually, I think it's a much more realistic system, perhaps. I'd have to play it to know that, but just the sounds of it make sense that you leave it up to the runner as to whether he steals based on whether he gets a good jump, which is kind of how it works in real life. But for advanced stealing, you really end up with 3 factors. And and they're independent of each other. One is the proficiency of base runner. You have the we'll say proficiency to steal, proficiency of base runner to get back to bag, if you put it that way. So, and I'll explain that a little bit more. And then 3 is catcher arm. So, if runner is not held on, then it is the so it is the BR, we'll say the rating, steel rating, we'll say plus catcher's arm. So that's why the catcher's arms in advanced, they can go from minus, I want to say -5. It's definitely a -4. We have a couple of those. I think Yadier Molina is a -4, maybe Salvador Perez. And you can get like a +3 from McHenry. He's not very good. So let's say that you take Ryan Braun and he's up against McHenry. So he's an A stealer. And he's not being held on. So he's a 1-15, and then +3 is going to be 1-18. And so it's like a no-brainer. You were going to send him. There's only a 10% chance he's going to get thrown out. Right? So that's why I'm saying, so let's compare it to basic. Where basic, it's like you're really just either you're deciding you're going to hold them on. I mean, actually, I would say in basic, your catcher proficiency really makes a big difference. In, I mean, I guess it does in both, but I feel like advanced gives you a chance to cover it some, because you can then say runner held, steal, plus catcher's arm, plus the, we'll say held factor. I guess that's what I'll call it. So let me pull it up here in the book. So it's this page here, page 9. So this is like the whole, this is somewhat pitcher, somewhat, what I would say is that this factors in the fact that a guy who is faster on the base paths is probably going to be faster when it comes to getting back, and so he can probably take a bit bigger lead, because he's probably going to be a little more agile. So in a double A, like Charlie Blackmon's double A, you subtract 2 if he's held on. So if you have McHenry, so let's just take, okay, same thing for the A. So let's take Ryan Braun, for example. If you have Ryan Braun, who's a -2, or Ryan Braun, he's an A, it's 1-15. You subtract the 2, that makes it 1-13. And then the +3 makes it 1-16. So at least you kind of, it's kind of like a shock absorber. It's going to take a little bit of the bite out of that bad arm. So, 1-16, it's still better than 75%. You're probably going to be wise to go, and you get it, and that's good. But see, what this also gives you the opportunity to do is, let's say, see, Milwaukee, did I just combine 2? No. I mean, Nick Hundley has a 0. I'm just thinking, I was going to potentially look to see if I could find a, well, hold on just a moment here while I dig around through my cards. There we go. That'll work. All right. Just bear with me for a second. This is when you this is when getting your, what do you call it? Where did I put it? Getting your exhibits ready ahead of time is wise. Let me take it apart here. I'll find it then. There you go. Last place you look. All right, so I guess Perez is a -3. But see, so what this does in advanced is it gives you a chance to say, okay, Braun, he is a 1 to 15, but -3 makes him 1 to 12. So it gives me a chance to sort of say to myself, man, I might not even need to hold him on. Because 1 to 12, a lot of managers are going to say, 75% is kind of like a gold standard for running a lot of times. Someone who's more aggressive, you might still want to hold him on. But with, let's say you get a guy who's a C. I mean, you're going to take him down to 1 to 8. And it's like you roll that 1 to 8 and it's like 20. No good. Went under the 11. No good. You just 11 again. I guess I didn't shake that one very well. There, you finally get one where he makes it. So, I like the advanced one just better because it gives you a little more freedom to decide your strategy. It doesn't mean that the basic isn't good. I just, it simplifies things, which is what it should be about when you're learning the mechanisms of the game. Should be about trying to make it so that when you play... the other thing that it does, which I think is what makes it appealing for a lot of players, who even today, like in my series, this World Series that wasn't, the reason I am using basic in that is that I can get through a game in like a half an hour, as opposed to my advanced games tend to take 45 minutes, maybe more sometimes. So it's just, there's a convenience factor. I think the statistical, playing out of things pretty much remains the same for the most part, as far as like how the stats will play out in the long season. Probably your best bet is to, as I said, if you're early on, stick with that. So, like I said, basic stealing, you're holding on or you're not. And so if you're holding somebody on, you just subtract that factor based on your catcher. So, for instance, in this World Series that wasn't, I have 2 different types of catchers. I need to get the other page here. I have Frank Snyder from the Giants, who is a 1. So it's -4. So, and then you have Hank Severeid, who's a 2, makes him a -3. It's one difference, but it kind of makes you think twice just with having a guy who's a little bit worse. Whether or not you're going to actually steal or not. I mean, if you don't, and if you had a guy who's a 4 catcher who's a -1, you might not even want it. It's going to degrade you a lot to try and. Granted, you're going to give up some stolen bases, but you might give up 2 bases on the single 2-star if he happens to sneak one through if you're holding him on. So, it just gives you some... Those are some things you have to consider. So, I know it might be a little bit confusing even after my explanation, but more or less basic, it's simplified, and you're just trying to get down to, in that, the base runner, and then whether or not you want to play defense given the catcher that you're using. In advanced, there's the other factor of, you have the catcher's arm that factors in there regardless, and then it's just a matter of whether or not you want to counteract if you have a guy who's poor. Excuse my hand, I'm trying to make sure my phone doesn't fall. If you have a guy who's poor, you may poor at throwing the ball to second base, you may want to counteract that by holding on. Or if you have a guy who's really good, you might want to say, I'm gonna try to force the other manager into making a steal, into trying a steal, which is going to probably work into my favor anyway. Unless you have a AA guy who's getting 1 to 17, if you've got Yadier Molina -4, that's a 1 to 13. That's going to bring him down below 75%. You're going to have some managers who just get shied away from that without need. So that allows you to then say, cool, I can play off him. I eliminate those plus singles that come out of the ground ball chances. And so that's that. And I guess, okay, great. So 1 to 15 minus 3 arm minus 2 from the chart is 1 to 10. That is correct. Yes. 1 to 15, a minus 3 arm, and then minus 2 from the chart. Yeah, that's advanced. So, and that's for the advanced because, like I said, it's all based on, in the advanced, you get that extra factor in there for the guy being held on. You get to super advanced, you have factors that you have to do for whether the runner gets a good jump. There are some specific roles which will deal with on the D20. So you end up, I think, rolling a D20 every at bat if a runner's on base. And so just to try and give us a rudimentary explanation for super advanced, what you should do, if you really want to, go watch Espo, Strat, Baseball Network. He has a couple games. You might catch it there. But, and I think Tabletop Baseball has some videos specifically on this. Type in tabletop, one word, tabletop, and then baseball, super advanced stealing. And I think he's got a tutorial on that would give you the low down skinny on that. But just as a sort of a Cliff's Notes version, you get a guy on base. Every bat after that guy's on base. You have to roll the D20 before you roll the rest of the dice. And that will tell you whether or not the guy gets a good jump, I believe. And then the other thing that will tell you, I think if it's a 1, 2, or 3, there's a chance for a balk, a passed ball, or a wild pitch. And so each pitcher has a rating for that. And so if you get one of those rolls, you then have to do some finagling with that. But if there's a good jump, you can choose to steal on that. Actually, I think if you get a good jump, you have to steal. And if there isn't a good jump, you get the choice, but some guys maybe not get a choice. So just watch his video. It's a really neat mechanism, I think. It's just... I didn't know that Espo did a great video on this. Thanks, Jerry. Like I'm saying, that's exactly what I mean. Just there are resources out there and guys who have played this game a lot longer than I have as far as super advanced. If you're just starting out, it might just get a little too intense. So just a warning as far as the level of play, just the level of... The great thing about it is, if you're into detail, it allows you to get the details from what. It's, it's just like the super advanced fielding charts. I mean, you have scenarios. Granted, I know that there's some people that I've heard complaining about, there's too many two-base errors or too many this or that. I don't know. It just, there's some scenarios like in the advanced game, you get two-base errors. I think it's more likely you get, a one base, like a single and then a one base error. And I think in super advanced, it takes those things into account. You also have some other mechanisms. Not everybody uses them. The clutch, hitting, ballpark effects, maybe weather effects are in there too. What was the other thing I was going to say? But I mean, advanced gives me what I'm really looking for, which is the lefty righty splits. But the other thing it does, this game just allows you to look at the card and say to yourself, well, I think everybody tends to assume that lefty versus lefty and righty versus righty is best. But you can look at that card and say, I've got, let me see, who did I have recently? Well, I'll tell you who. There are some guys in these decks that are just, you would say, oh, lefty against lefty. Will Smith, let me turn it around here real quick. Will Smith from the Brewers, he's a lefty pitcher. He gives up, granted it's only on a third of the card, but he gives up his share of, good stuff to lefty hitters. So, you can look at this and say, man, I think he's probably better against a righty. And maybe that's why, maybe the Brewers have him for that specifically. And what it will do is it'll open you up to go say, maybe I'll look at Baseball Reference and see how he gets played like that, you know. How did the Brewers use him? Did they bring him in against this or that or the other? He has an N there, so he's not really closer material, but, you know, it just, like I said, it opens you up for a lot of different things. So I've got to get going because I've been at this a while today, and I appreciate you watching this. I am glad that you've picked it up here. Mike Diamond and Mike McAllister and other guys, Tribe fan is looking to get into it too. I'm glad. It's really exciting me that we have guys who have watched these videos who are taking an interest and getting started on playing. And that was the goal for my videos, was to open this up to a new crowd. And it's slow, but it's working, and that's great. So thank you, Silverback, for watching, and thanks, Jerry, for hopping in here and adding to my commentary of how to do this. And check back in Tuesday night. Tuesday night we have the Battle of the Earls. Looking forward to that. See if I can keep my 2-game winning streak going, or if Mr. Shamblin will get me back. We'll see. Take it easy, guys. Keep stratting on. Especially you, Silverback. Keep stratting that on. You got to learn this, and you'll be right in business. Thanks a lot.